Hello there, thank you for staying with us and welcome to FaceOff. I am Neota Igbe. It's a day after the 27th of May, that day that Nigeria celebrates the child. All that the child's gone through is most often than not forgotten when it comes to that day, May the 27th. Everybody looks to celebrate the child, and everybody looks at the future, the brightness of the future of this child. Many have thought about the fact that this is what the child can do. This is where the child can be. This is what the child needs to move forward. Here is what the child needs to move forward. Some others have not bothered about here is what the child needs to move forward. Sometime back, the federal government or the National Assembly passed the Child Rights Act into law. Some states are yet to domesticate that law in their state. The Senate President cried about it yesterday in his goodwill message when he said those states that are yet to do this should please hurry up and do something about the Child Rights Act. So, what is the problem with the Nigerian child? How is it that the Nigerian child is not, in quote, effectively protected? Who should protect the Nigerian child? Should it be the government or should it be the parents? Who would ensure that the child has the right environment to grow? Would it be the government or should it be the parents? In some climes, they will say, the child doesn't belong to you. That child belongs to the nation. But in some other climes, they will say this, the child doesn't belong to the nation. He belongs to the family. So what's the situation? Who does the child belong to? Who would protect the child? And that's what we're going to look at today on FaceOff, a day after the Children's Day celebrations. I have a human resource expert, a human capital development expert here. God bless Otubure. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, Nauta.
And Onyedikachi Ekwerike is a consultant psychologist. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Okay, this gentleman will be talking about this, but let them state their stand in 10 seconds each. Whose job is it to nurture the child?
From a consultant psychologist perspective, from a psychological perspective, I think it is the primary responsibility of the parent to care and protect their children. The parents should not leave the protection of their children to the government alone. The parents have to stand up and be responsible and take responsibility for their children.
Thank you.
Okay, that's straight it. I think government and all necessary institutions are to protect children. That's what I think, yeah.
All right. We'll take a break. And when we return, we'll continue with our conversation. Who should protect the child? Who would provide the right environment for the child to grow? We'll be back shortly. Don't go away.
It's another Children's Day. Unlike in the past, this year there is no march past in Abuja. And if figures are to be believed, there's still much left to be done for the Nigerian child in the area of education. According to the recent figures by the United Nations Children's Fund, 40% of Nigerian children aged between 6 to 11 do not attend any primary school, with northern Nigeria recording the lowest school attendance rate in the country, particularly for girls. The agency estimates that in figures, over 10 million children in Nigeria are without education.
It really could be more because, like many other things, our statistics is sometimes not what it is because most of the rural areas are really not captured in some of these things. So most times it's an estimate.
Several factors can be said to be responsible for this.
Whereas we say education is free at certain levels, we still have underhand fees that have been introduced at different levels of that sector.
But federal government has done very well in getting involved with that. But I think that the issue is that we need to have more responsibility on the parts of parents and to get children to go to school.
Even though the federal government is doing a lot to increase its funding of education, some people say more needs to be done.
It's clear that in terms of budgeting, we are not putting a lot to education. We are talking about interventions that are also clearly, if you know, open to pilfering and corruption.
It is not just enough to quote to me the amount that we have spent in the budget. You should also, if I ask you, be prepared to tell me what you have done with the money.
The impact this state of affairs can have on the future is not a cheering one.
This is the problem of numbers, demand versus available resources. Anybody who wants to address the problem of education and has not taken this into account is due to start again.
The recent kidnappings and violent attacks in the northeastern part of the country has made a bad situation worse, as children in this area are facing this first challenge. A situation that calls for sober reflection instead of celebration. Lanre Lassese, Channels Television News.
Yes, indeed. Parent, government, who will protect the child? Who provides that environment where the child will grow and be all that he or she ought to be? The parent or the government, or both of them? Now, this is what we're looking at today as we are still in the mood of celebrating the Nigerian child, even in the wake of the abducted Chibok girls, whom we hope will be found. We understand some have even escaped. All right, we're back here, and gentlemen, you can be a part of the conversation. Turn via email or tweet at FaceOff today or at Neo Taigwe, or send a mail, faceoff@channelstv.com. I'll read them out as quickly, but keep it short and simple and straight to the point. So you can ask your first question.
Now, my first question to Mr. Kachi is this. How can a man and a family who lives on less than $3 a day take care of that child very well?
Okay, now, so you're trying to say now that poverty is an excuse for negligence? That parents who are poor should abuse their children? Or how would you explain the fact that as 2006, 15 million children were laboring in farms, cassava plantations, cocoa plantations, exposed to pesticides and chemicals, fertilizers that are hazardous to their health?
There we go again. Now the question is,
so
have the government done enough to create an enabling economic environment that ensures that... No, you've got to understand something, Kachi. We're saying that who protects the child here?
Hold on. Let's one step at a time.
Okay.
You're asking a question. Has the government done enough to ensure that the parents can take care of that child?
Okay.
Now, given the present
Has the government done enough? Is that the question you're asking?
Given the economic climate right now, okay, I think the parents do not have an excuse. Poverty cannot be an excuse for negligence. Now, children who walk the street consistently dirty, exposed to the hazards of the street, would you say it's because of poverty? Because the father is living below $1? Now, would you say that with $1, the father cannot clean up his child and put him in the house? Would you say that the child is allowed to roam the street and do all sorts of vices and become a delinquent because the father is poor?
No, that is not what we're saying.
We should neglect our responsibility as parents because we do not have material things to give to their children. So
Mr. Kachi, as a human capital development expert, you cannot take away the place of capital to be able to create that very kind of human capital that you need. Now, let me tell you, you hold on. I listened to you while you were... No, Kachi, I was listening to you. I was listening to you. You must understand this. The man who can afford good potable water, food in the house, and a good bathroom, and a good, buy clothes for the children. I mean,